All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Raiders Daily. My name is Jackson. I post daily Raiders content, so be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button as we try and hit 10,000 subs by the start of the regular season. So, uh, I bit the apple. I fully bit the apple. My Raiders doomers aren't gonna like this video, but I was reading a power ranking article. It is training camp week. Well, actually, some teams started last week, but NFL training camp ramps up this week, all of this week. And so we're starting, man. NFL's back. We're getting news back. We're getting all of the good stuff back, which means power rankings, the pre camp power rankings. And the Raiders, to nobody's surprise, came in at 25th. And it makes sense. You know, the Raiders last season only winning 6 games. I hate looking back at last year because they broke NFL history, and it was not a good NFL record to break. They blew 4 second half leads of 10 points or more. And we're fully, Raiders fans, we all remember these games. There were some of those that were just so like, shoot me in the foot, man. What on earth am I watching? There's McDaniels doomers. There's, just future Raider team doomers. I look at the roster, I look at the depth chart, and I'm not doom and gloom. I just am not doom and gloom. I really believe that if Jimmy G is healthy, which by the way, he is healthy, I don't know why the Raiders offense will be worse than average. I just don't know why. I'm assuming, obviously, with this, that Josh Jacobs will be back in a Raider uniform this upcoming season. Now, after this upcoming season, who knows? Honestly, might be for the best, might not be. We'll wait and see with that. But I still have Davante Adams. I have new addition Jacoby Myers, who is a perfect wide receiver too. And I know that we've been talking about a Hunter Renfrow trade for what feels like, honestly, almost a year now. But as it stands right now, he's on the roster, and I think from the Raiders standpoint, it makes sense that he's still on the team. Last year was such a down year for the Raiders offense in general, but especially Hunter just dealing with all the injuries he was dealing with. It just wasn't the same 100 plus receptions, 1,000 receiving yard season. So the wide receiver unit looks great. The running back unit looks great. I'm not forgetting about new additions, guys like Philip Dorsett, new addition via the draft, and Trey Tucker. The tight end room, I love it. I loved the additions of, it was first OJ Howard, right? Just kind of a depth piece. Austin Hooper was a great signing. And then you draft Michael Mayer. And Michael Mayer was a great draft pick. I am a Notre Dame fan, so it is a little bit of a biased take, but Michael Mayer's future in the NFL is extremely bright. He can catch, he can block, he can do a little bit of everything. He's a physical specimen. I love the draft pick, and he's going to have an impact this upcoming season. He's going to be a big target for Mr. Jimmy G, along with Austin Hooper. The offensive line, I think it was probably the way the season started last year with all the different variations, new guys coming in. What was it? The first 6 weeks, there were 6 new offensive line rotations. By the end of the season, the offensive line was actually solid. I would classify the Raiders offensive line as above average right now. So like when I take a look at the offense, I know there's a lot of money poured into it. And I know Jimmy G's contract, people weren't huge fans of it, but it's a playoff caliber roster. All right. Like I said, I know there's some internal drama going on right now, like with Josh Jacobs, Jimmy G's health, a Hunter Renfrow trade, maybe one day a Davante Adams trade. But for the time being, especially on paper, the Raiders offense, I don't have any glaring holes with it. Like I said, I'm pretty big on Jimmy G. We were raised in the same town. He went to like my rival high school. So I'm a Jimmy G supporter. In 2022, in just 11 games, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. My favorite part about Jimmy G is, and I know people aren't big on McDaniels, and I know people aren't big on Jimmy G, they're the perfect pairing. It's just a perfect pairing for given, not taking a quarterback at 7 and getting Jimmy G, prior to that. It's the perfect fit. It really is. It's a game manager. It's a guy who's going to make very minimal mistakes, and he's just going to play within the flow of the game. I love Jimmy G and Josh McDaniels as a duo. Now, do I want necessarily Josh McDaniels as like my head coach? Not really. Do I want Jimmy G as like my starting quarterback? I mean, not really. You can improve from both of those, but I think it's a match made in heaven. So I think, offensively, you're going to be at worst average. Defensively is obviously where all the questions come in, but we were kind of getting started the propaganda train yesterday because a huge glaring flaw was the secondary. It was specifically cornerback, not even depth. It was more cornerback talent. It was just like a matter of talent. You had Nate Hobbs, but outside of Nate Hobbs, there were a lot of question marks of who was going to be cornerback 2. I've mentioned it time and time again. I love the addition of Duke Shelley. However, if he was my cornerback 2, probably not the best cornerback duo. And I know Marcus Peters is coming off a season, coming off of a torn ACL, but at the end of the day, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler, and he's going to have a big impact on and off the field for a lot of these young defensive backs and just young players in general, having this veteran leader, this guy who adds grit. He adds this kind of toughness, something that the Raiders want, right? That's what you want. So I think for me, Marcus Peters, I know the secondary isn't perfect, but there are guys I'm really excited about, specifically the draft picks, guys like Chris Smith, Jacorian Bennett out of Maryland. I look at the defensive line, Max Crosby, Chandler Jones. I know the Tyree Wilson injury is unideal, but with a Liz Frank injury, you really don't want to rush Tyree Wilson back. So I know the big question right now is, is he going to be good to go by week 1? If there is even in my opinion, if there's even a sliver of doubt, definitely don't play him. Definitely don't play him. With Tyree Wilson, I'm long-term with this guy. Obviously he was a rookie drafted at pick number 7, so you should be thinking long-term. I know the Raiders could use another pass rusher with Max Crosby on the other side, but hopefully, I know Chandler Jones is 33, but hopefully he can hold it down enough for when Tyree Wilson is fully healthy. And then yesterday, obviously, we were talking about my biggest concern with the defense, and that's just the linebacker unit. I'm not a huge fan of it. You guys know I love Double D. I think Double D is a rising star in the NFL. In fact, I think he will be a star starting this upcoming season. He pretty much was a Pro Bowler last year. However, the injury cut his season in half. Linebacker unit, not huge on. However, there are guys I'm still really excited to see play next season. Guys like Amari Burney out of Florida, drafted a little bit later in the NFL draft. So, all together, I'm piecing it together. And, I know there's a lot of variables that are about to go in this statement, but just as a whole, the offense is solid to me. I think it's an above average offense. And I'm starting to get really excited about Jimmy G and Josh McDaniels pairing. And I think the defense, there's talent on the defense, and I think they should be able to be fine. I think it should be a fine defense. And honestly, in today's era, you just never know, man. You just never know. Maybe second half of the season, these guys are really clicking. Offense, defense, put together a couple of good weeks, get a win streak going. I mean, you just never know. So I know it's not fully doomer right now, but the trajectory isn't as what Raiders fans want, and I understand it, but I'm just saying, hold on. Let's wait till we see it. All right. That's it for today. Hit the like button, hit that sub button. Let me know what you guys are thinking down below.